Hello everyone, and welcome back. I know it's been a little bit, but I have been busy with real life and causing some unintended chaos on the community Discord for Thrive. Once again, I will say I do apologize for that. I did not mean to cause so much chaos. Uh, but I think what I want to do today is we're going to do some setup for uh, some of the future stuff when we have the larger like 3D gameplay and all that gets added in once you get through the colony cells and all that, early microbe, not early microbe, early multicellular and all that. So I'm gonna start kind of working on that in the next few videos. Maybe try the paramecium again at some point, since that was something I had attempted and didn't really work out initially. If you remember how that was. Let's see if there's anything I want to change. I think that's pretty good. Of course, not going to care much about the seeds, I think, for this. I'm just going to try to do different play styles, so it's probably going to be very similar to a lot of my other videos. The one I'm going to start with is going to be iron again. So I'm going to try to get to a cave for this one. Alright. Yeah, that's where we're going to try to go. Alright. Yeah, so I'm going to do some naming stuff that's more tied into, like, as if I was already dealing with some of that future gameplay. I was already able to, like, move on towards it and all that. And part of this is, since I know I can fossilize various cells that I encounter in the game, including my own creations, in the museum, I can do that so I can have a reference for the future when we actually do these other videos, so we can have a sort of at least a known setup we're trying to go for, instead of me kind of bumbling around potentially each time. Just try to grab a bit more glucose first. Alright. The whole planet. It's pretty decent. I think we want to try and move as quickly as we can. And I will be naming it as if it's a sapient species for each variation we're going to do. This looks sort of irony. Patch map. Like that. I shouldn't have to change, at least temperature-wise, shouldn't have to change anything. I'm going to have to change pressure. Like when we move to the next patch. That's something I'm going to have to keep in mind. Might as well do a little bit of boost and oxygen resistance ahead of time. Alright. Oh my lord. Alright then. That did not go as planned. Clearly gonna have to be careful. Alrighty. Okay, gently dodge those. Alright. Also, I should say that I did in fact, yeah, I'm gonna do this and won't be too much of an issue. So the plant I've been working on does have a name now, which was chosen by the community. The name being Pangonia. So that's what it is. That should be good for now. All right. Yeah, so the name for it is officially Patagonia now, which I am pretty happy about. I mainly wanted to let the community be able to have some effect on things involving that. And there will be other polls I plan on doing as well in the future for it and all that. So if you missed that one, don't worry. You'll definitely have another chance at some other point. Do I want to move up again? No. Let's see how this looks. I gotta get UV up a little bit. Just to be extra safe there. Also, I don't think we need to worry too much with the hydrogenase because we're going to be close enough to the surface that I think we should be able to use mitochondria. So, not trying to be too worried about it, but it'd be very nice to move over. We're going to have to increase our temperature resistance though, but it'd be pretty nice to get in there. And we're going to really get working on it. Also, let's take a look at what we got here. Oh, that died already. This branch, which hasn't changed all that much. There's this branch. That which went extinct. Single hex that's like a bluish purple, maybe gray color. Oh, and then another one that became just a hex. They love to do that, don't they? This would be some differentiation there. Alright. Oh, iron chunk there. I wonder if I can already get that. Nope. I plan on having hydrogen sulfide because obviously it's good to have glucose as an additional thing when needed. In case I run out of iron, but iron's going to be my main source for this. And there's some hydrogen sulfide I can use to max out for a moment. Alright. Okay, that's a membrane change. That's gone extinct. Alright. Run over into here. Oh, Towns-wise, gotta go back up. Alright. No, I don't feel like that's all too great here. Which is 4 ATP. Although then again, I don't want to do this because I want to mainly be an iron eater. Of course, nucleus. Let's do that. We have another. Just siren. Towns-wise, increase that a bit. I think we're looking good. Pioneers in this area, I assume. I should maybe actually see that. See if that is the case. Yep, it is just as. Oh, I realized I just realized I forgot to keep on moving everything. I should probably do that in the next editor cycle. Try and get them all moved up closer. Can't remember if I've explained this before with the previous times when I've done like the Iron Eater video and all that. But I'm always gonna probably use some form of the hydrogen sulfide because glucose is always gonna be fair game in this as a sort of backup option. But like I can't use thermosynthase, I can't use radiation at all. I mean, there's a little bit in here, but I mean I've said this before, but radiation isn't like the best option to just go with as like your main thing. You have to have something else. So I could maybe just make that another one that's sort of a like just free choice if I want to do it. But that could also end up being just very dependent on like a one thing, so I don't really want to mess with that, I guess is the way to say it. Do like how there's just two that or hexes that are just the same. You move up there, everything here. As I mentioned before, we need to have about 20 more ATP production than ATP usage in order to get the nucleus and not have any issues arise. That. Really close though. So I'm just gonna bump that up. And we're gonna go into the run. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Don't really know what to say, I guess. I've done a small amount of work into the like the starting creatures. Alright. Just wanted to make sure that nothing was gonna get interrupted there. Summer's coming upstairs. But yeah, as I was saying, I've done some work into what the body plan is going to be at the very start. I was initially going to have like 4 different kinds of body plans, but I eventually just narrowed it down to 2: the sessile one and then the motile one. The motile one is going to produce, of course, like pretty much most of the other body plans you're going to see. It's going to pretty much all of them created by Mr. 42, including the one that'll end up being the hexaquill, one that gives me like a weird fish vibe but has like tentacles where its mouth would also be located, which is kind of a bit of an odd one, but that's how I've kind of thought of it. Sulfur? Yeah. And then there's like this worm-like creature he had also designed. So that's also going to be part of that. Can I get this in without it being too much of an issue? at the moment. Yeah, no, that's good. I can't do that. Not yet. Anything up here that things are also migration manager thing to there. Alright. Yeah, so it's like a worm-like creature. End up being like a... I feel like it's gonna end up resembling a lot of like mollusks, I feel like, is probably what it's gonna end up happening with it. That one will probably just be like a marine-only species, at least a group of creatures. That's, I think, what's gonna happen there. Yeah, obviously the hexacoil and the thing that makes me think of a fish. This will obviously be going on to land. Actually, no. I do know. Actually, no. I think I was a. I think I misspoke actually with the worm, like creature. I do believe I actually plan on having a version of it get onto land that's going to be sort of insect-like, kind of feeling like the smaller creature niches that sort of a lot of other larger species may not be going into if their bodies can handle, bigger niches like large grazers and large carnivores and all that. Yeah, obviously. So, and also, may have talked about the plants with it before, but there are only two main colors, that being green and yellow. And then it's also going to be red algae that they have a symbiotic relationship with because of the red dwarf star that is present in the system. Got some small things in here now for us to try and consume. Yeah, the yellow and green plants with the red algae symbiotes. Right? Hopefully that should make some really interesting plant colors and vegetation conditions. I feel like it's also gonna make it necessary for animals to have very color-based vision early on. And otherwise it'll be hard to pick out camouflage foods and whatnot, because you could have up to 3 main colors, and also depending on certain situations, I may even have some areas even have like an orange coloration where the red algae and like at least the yellow colored plants, it'll be like an even mix between their main pigmentation and the algae symbiote, so it'll be very consistent color-wise, so it'll become more of a orange color instead of just like a red or a yellow with a slight tinge of red in some spots. Sure, okay. Got nothing else to worry about. Let's see. Is anything even... There's nothing that's made that jump yet. It's interesting. That's going to store stuff as well with that. Okay. Yeah, so, you know, the sort of, I guess, like the bug-like creatures along with the plants are going to get onto land at roughly the same time is how I'm going to do it. So they get to kind of chill without much difficulty for a while, and then, of course, the fish-like thing is going to show up along with the hexagons on each of the... Because at that point, there's going to be 2 large continents that are rifted apart right as the plants and sort of bug-like animal group was getting onto land. That looks like a really fluid membrane there. But yeah. So once the other 2 large land animals are gonna show up, things get a little tougher, of course, as you would expect for this bug-like creature that can't get too large. Okay, I think that's gotten a different membrane as well now. And nothing's up there still. Okay, that is bizarre. Guess for now we may as well do that. Yeah, so once the other 2 larger terrestrial animals make their invasion of land, things are going to get obviously a lot harder for small bug-like creatures. And they're going to, of course, become, well, obviously everything that deals with the smaller stuff. I mean, that would make sense. And although part of the reason I wanted to have them, the hexaquill terrestrial species and that sort of fish-like thing start on different continents is because I want to have a very drastic situation with like allopatry. I don't know if that is that the right word. Basically, when different like ecosystems clash when continents come together, or something forms between them, like a land bridge. So I kind of want to take that and just go to an extreme with entirely different body plans just to have things get affected drastically. Although I do want to, one thing I want to mention though with my plan there is because if I'm not mistaken, the more legs do make it a little harder for species to like have good energy usage. What is up with everything now? Nothing wants to enter this patch. That is so weird. I'm not come here to handle certain things that ends up continuing to be the case. So it looks like all this. I think the sulfur actually moves around a bit more now. I think that's something they had actually mentioned. And there's like a little bit of there as well. Yeah, so the hexaquill terrestrial species are gonna have a much harder time from the get-go once the 2 continents come back together to form the supercontinent. But it may already, but also around this time we may already be seeing the start of the actual sapient species showing up. So like its lineage will probably already be going into, well, intelligence and higher thought stuff, related stuff. Try to make sure the nucleus is at the end. Off we go down. So that situation combined almost certainly with probably like maybe an ice age that forms from it, or even like a hot ice period will have enough an effect that it's going to push the species into being an obligate sapiens. And another thing though is because I'm going to use sort of like Earth and our own solar system as like the baseline for the system that we're dealing with this project that I'm doing. Okay. Oh, I need kinase for that guy. It means I can actually have a bit of fun with solar eclipses, especially for when I'm working on the society related stuff. Which for that I actually want to again do it a bit more of an interesting way instead of just me creating it. I kind of want to pull off doing a sort of like tabletop role play almost, where different people have different nations they're controlling, and almost slightly like a Civ game, I guess, is another way I could sort of describe it. I'm here to see if anything is like a chloroplast, but I don't think so. There's some fun colors that I'm seeing. Oh, finally something's up there, okay. I finally start to actually get some oxygen showing up. Yes, that is something I want to do just to make it more fun, and just so I don't have just also so I don't know exactly what's going to happen with it, because it'll make it a bit more interesting. Although I may have like some kind of control over how I want things to play out, but it'll be once again kind of I think a bit of a fun thing. And I should mention that one of my hopes in all this will be that when we do get to later stages, we'll be able to have Easter eggs, civilizations, and whatnot that we could have for fun. And one of them would be this obviously this species that I'm working on for this project for the loading screens. Yeah, so I guess one of the biggest things I should mention with all this is I want to make sure that the community gets to have some impact, but also I don't want it to be just something that's like tied to simply the loading screens and having fun images and all that. I want it to be something that could actually be interacted with, which is part of the reason why I am going, I think, to the degree I am with all this. It looks funky. I feel like I have not looked at the actual Tree of Life in a while. I should probably take a look at it. Just to see what's going on with everything. This at least with order that up top. Come on. Yeah, I want to just generally make the whole thing more have some interaction stuff and just it will be fun while it's being worked on. Also, it'll be something that people could be able to see in game as well, which may also be a reason why I may have. And it's something that I actually mentioned. I think someone had mentioned in the community forums in a discussion I made about it. But they had wondered if the hexacle itself would be like a living fossil. And I'm considered I might do it, but it wouldn't be like the exact hexacle species that Mr. 42 made, but like a version of it that has managed to live in maybe like an isolated lake or something, or has had the chance to sort of survive and not have to deal with the major competition all that much from other species that could fill its ecosystem as easily. And although there are a number of sort of small at least I know I have some inner oceans in some of the continents. There's definitely some lakes as well that'll be formed. So if all that, so using all that, I probably could pull it off. And if it doesn't feel like it could be pulled off, I could just use the logic of, hey, this is also for a video game. And I guess also that's where I should get to another thing about all this is another part of my plan is so a lot of the stuff I've considered, at least with the game and whatnot, is more with the like actual end of the game, the space civilization and all that fun stuff. Because I have a lot of well, I'm a pretty big space nerd. I love outer space, things to do with it, and I've thought about how I would handle, like, or at least how Thrive should handle the space stage so it doesn't feel too easy to get the ascension gate and all that. And I think part of my idea at least is to have the black hole at the center of the galaxy be sort of a big key in all of it. So, as I mentioned, I actually want to look at the evolution tree. But yeah. So I want that black hole to have to play a decent role within how things sort of play out with the end game and ascension gate and all that. I don't want to say specifically how it's going to in case it is added in the game, because I do want, really, part of the loading screen idea is to have the loading screen sort of hint to players what exactly they have to do to get the ascension gate, and without specifically having like it said by another species or civilization or anything like that. Because I think it'd be more interesting to kind of hint towards it and then see if players can pick up on those hints and actually make use of those hints to progress throughout the game. Obviously, of course, that's a lot of that generally is going to, a lot of this, at least for the loading screen, this space faring stuff will obviously be mainly hinting at that stuff. I don't know if I'll be able to hint at stuff within like their society stuff within this at all. But once again, we'll just have to see how things play out and all that. Yeah, so we hint stuff, but also because of something, I haven't talked, a lot of this I've not actually mentioned with the other dev team. I think I've mentioned the black hole bit before, but I also want to have a bit of fun actually with the black hole itself, kind of how, it's more how the black hole functions in the game, at least the one that's at the center of the galaxy. I want it to be a bit more unique and special and just do some fun stuff. So I don't want to say too much about it in case it is actually done. The way I kind of hope it could be done. But yeah, I just want to make sure it's just a lot of kind of fun related things. Make it interesting for players. All of it, we'll have to see how it goes, of course. That's good for now. But yeah, so overall just some fun related stuff. So that's kind of my goal with a lot of this, with Thrive, I guess. Try and make the game entertaining, especially in that later stage, and use some of my knowledge with like space and astronomy stuff to make things kind of fun and interesting, and also because space is such a kind of a strange topic at times, just to kind of see if we can get some interesting things added in and all that. Although I may as well not talking about theoretical stuff that could be changed drastically. Although of course, if you wonder like how would that affect the loading screens, well, the loading screen should be able to be, if we have to change them at all for any reason, that should be relatively easy to do. I mean, it's just like an image and whatnot. Plus, I plan on having go sort of at the same rate. Oh, looks like we're going to start getting oxygen soon. Yes. So overall, it should be moving at a similar rate as trying to think of how I should say it. The loading screens will be created at a similar pace to the actual like game stage. So this is why I want to try and get at least the early marine ecosystem sort of handled before we move into the actual macroscopic stages. Because that's sort of when that's. So I want to make sure that all that's sort of taken care of by that point, so that loading screens can be created and implemented into the game. But yeah. That's already gone. But maybe some of a few things that have reduced oxygen. It's definitely starting to increase. I haven't looked to see if it's moved. Okay, things have moved to other areas. Nothing's on down there yet. Nothing's in there. There's one thing in there. I assume nothing's gone further than that. Alright. Let's see. So we know that mitochondria, well, the metabolism should be available relatively soon. Just get that up quickly. And make sure actually the nucleus move down here. The ferroplasts up here with the other ones. Get also with the chemoplast up here as well. Okay, that's pretty good. we go again. Got it, so we can just keep moving on. Yeah, I feel like it'll be a lot more interesting when we actually get to the upcoming stages that we have not actually gotten into yet a whole lot. Keep my head and sulfate up. I have a feeling this radiation drug has killed a lot of cells for some reason. Slowly starting to get into this area. Looks good for now. And there we go. Somebody out. Spiked there. Has increased a little bit. I don't think it's enough to actually have the metabolism ready yet until next generation. I guess this would make sense since iron oxidizes. It would be kind of useful for a species, I guess. It's not going to be very bright at the moment. I mean, you saw in the patch report, there's a little over 1% oxygen in the patch itself. Like 1.2, I think it was. The fourth round of that. check to make sure my recording was actually on there. I'm a little sad if it wasn't. No. I feel like you don't see a lot of them become like bright purple in this. Now I've gotten about 3.4% oxygen. So this should now be available. So make sure we get this taken care of. Right there. See, at the moment it's still not any better, but I do think we want to start trying to work towards it. So how is this going to fare? It's going to make us not as good, but it's a little bit better at the moment to get the work started. It's a little bit of a wishbone, but I'll try it. Alright. So that, well, we've hit the necessary mark. Symbiote in us now. Also be a bit easier, I think, now to notice sort of species that come from us because of our illumination that we have. The mirror impacts. Looks like it's either basic or iron. No, it's our iron. 6.4 now. So it is getting a little bit better. Most energy are coming from the ferroplasts anyways. It again. Looked at it in a while. The branches from us are not doing the best. Well, this group here looks like it had at least some point changed the membrane in one of them. Okay, so change this. So that's probably where also a lot of these different membranes are coming from. Okay. Well, these are some cells, alright. That explains why oxygen's increasing so fast. And then this line only has 2 living members. Same with this as well. Same here, so we honestly makes sense that we kind of have a bigger group, but this is kind of a bit far off from us. And this one is it's diverged quite a bit from us. Technically turn that thing off. If you look at, it's of course getting more efficient. It looks good for now. What I need, right? Okay, yeah. Looks kind of cool color-wise. It's a big list now. 9.7. And the version would actually become the better method, so we'll just switch these out a bit. Maybe not at the moment. I've been relatively slow for most of this. I think, because I'm almost kind of running out of things I can think of to say, I think I'm gonna pause recording for you guys, get to the end, and then I'll just show you what I came up with at the end. So, you'll see this in a moment. It'll take me a while though. Alright, so I've spent a bit more time working on it. I also moved the parts around so things will look a little bit neater. But this is where I'm going to actually say we've done what we wanted. So just get that hunk of iron out of there. We're going to fossilize it. And just so we have an idea of how long it took, this is generation 30. Yeah, took a while. Also really surprised that it's all these different, yeah, like at a membrane switch that really happened. I mean, this world specifically would be really interesting to see what would happen, I guess, in the future. Gotta see what some of this stuff is still. There are different offshoots early on. This image gained one. This has been got one like just recently, it looks like. This other early group looks like it. Everything for it went extinct, so that's just how nature is. Alright. I mean, not sure off yet. And obviously these are actually for my concept ideas of the plants and all that, so they just made plant cells and then like an algae. That's like all that is. Yeah. I don't even know. I think that's because of some weird goofy. Yeah, just how that was. Alright. I hope you all enjoyed this and have a good day.